Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it seems that we have these TikTokers, these Gen Z TikTokers. I know, their TikTok is a cancer. It is a cancer to ourselves and our lives, and we should wish it would all go away. Well, it won't go away for a little while, but that's okay because we have these hacks to expose. All right, so we have these Gen Z TikTokers are saying that, or like, they're not paid or whatever, and they're not paid by the DNC or Biden. Well, it turns out like they are. Now, let's go over a few things here of kind of saying, oh well, we're all for this, we're all for the voting Democratic stuff like that and not being paid. Well, there's more to it. Well, without further ado, take a look at this cancer. I apologize in advance. You have been warned.
About Gen Z is we don't like you. You claim you want to appeal to Gen Z, but you call us stupid, you say we're dumb, you say we're indoctrinated. I promise it's a losing strategy. And Gen Z is watching the Republican Party extremely closely as they destroy our environment, take rights away from women, do nothing about kids being shot in schools, and if they think they can give the middle finger to our generation and get away with it, they're sorely mistaken. So I shot a gun for the first time today, and I've always been told by Republicans that after the first time, I'll be in favor of guns and I'll want more guns. But for me, it was the exact opposite. I realized how powerful these guns are, and at a moment's notice, they can be used to take someone's life. And the fact that in many states in this country, you can walk into one of these stores and 10 minutes later walk out with an AR-15 is absurd. This experience made me want more gun control, not less.
Now, these people, these creatures, these hacks, are spouting all kinds of, the typical talking points of everything. We're going to try to expose them the best that we can here. And the best way that we can do this is kind of showing exactly what they're saying and what they're doing. So, first off, what we'll do is that we'll show one clip of pretty much them talk about how they're not paid or whatever, and then we'll show the other great stuff.
Taylor Greene is now defending the 21-year-old who leaked top-secret classified U.S. documents. She said Jake Texeria is white, male, Christian, and anti-war. That makes him an enemy to the Biden regime, and he told the truth about troops being on the ground in Ukraine and a lot more. Ask yourself, who is the real enemy? A young, low-level National Guardsman or the administration that is waging war in Ukraine? I mean, she can't possibly be serious, right? Like, this 21-year-old kid betrayed the United States. Like, look, we know that Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't care about America, but defending someone who betrayed this country? Really? And she's an elected member of Congress. This is a new low for her. Listen, I want to speak to my friends who are farther left than I am. For everybody that's supporting Marianne Williamson over President Biden in 2024, why? I have seen no reason to give her my support, and that's for a number of reasons. One, she's provided no clear plan on how she's going to get her policies past Congress. Two, there are some very concerning reports out on how she's treated her campaign staff in the past. And three, she would lose to Donald Trump. In 2020, she got less than 1%. And when your own party's not supporting you, that likely means that the American people won't either. And I haven't seen a single poll that shows her beating Donald Trump. We got to think pragmatically here, because I think we can all agree that 4 more years of Donald Trump would destroy this country.
Yeah, so
Announced that he is running for re-election, and it's likely going to be him versus Donald Trump in 2024. And if you're not supporting President Biden, you're not supporting America. He's been one of the most productive presidents in American history. I mean, he passed the infrastructure bill, the American Rescue Plan, the CHIPS Act, the PACT Act. I mean, I could go on for forever. But what do the Republicans have to show the American people? An indicted former president taking rights away from women and insurrection? The choice is clear. We will not be supporting the radical Republican Party in 2024. Instead, we'll be supporting President Biden and the Democrats and their amazing policy. Myself and Chris of being paid by the DNC, and we just wanted to come on and say that's an incredibly dumb thing to think.
Yeah, like, congratulations, you discovered we're both signed to Palette Management, which is in our bios. And Palette's a huge company, right? They do marketing work, they do management work. So they receive that money to do marketing and to cover travel expenses separate from what we do. So we haven't seen a dime of that $200,000. Like, do you really think I would dress like this if I had $200,000? And again, it's all public information. And you discovered we're Democrats, and we're going to vote for Joe Biden, which I think most people already knew.
And look, if the DNC is handing out checks, We should be first in line to receive them, but that's simply not happening, and we haven't received a dime from the DNC. And we want to make it clear, we're perfectly happy to work with organizations that share our vision. So if someone reached out to us and say, hey, we're trying to make sure the environment is protected, we'd love to work with them. But we are simply not working with the DNC, and we want to reiterate that everything that's been posted on social media is public information. This is not a home run story. It's all out there for everybody to see.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're going to go continue our normal content like people want to see. Maybe we'll go hang out with Hillary and Hunter on an island or something, but not the home run story you think it is, and we love you all.
Yeah, as cringe that was, I apologize, but you have to deal with, see what I'm coming up here with all this. Now notice at the very end of the video, where they said they're not being paid by the DNC, they're not, and all that great stuff, and they're doing pretty much all their own going to vote for their Democratic and stuff like that. Well, unfortunately for them and their great stupidity, they are being paid by the DNC because this guy goes out and explains everything. Take a look.
Course on journalism. Using a very simple example, I'm going to show you how a story becomes an angle. And today's example are these two guys. Harry Sison, who you know is typical Democrat, and his buddy Chris Mowry. Now, the general way that a story begins is that a reporter sees something that doesn't quite make sense to them. And in this case, the thing that doesn't make sense is how have these two guys gained such traction so quickly? I mean, if you look at Harry's Twitter account, it literally says it was made in December 2011 when he would have only been 8 years old. Chris Mowry says he only sent his first political tweet a couple months ago and is not owned by any administration and doesn't work for the DNC. So you see that and you think to yourself, how did these guys blow up so quickly into these liberal TikTok stars? Well, the second part of a story is you look at a common denominator between the two things that don't make sense. And if you look at the bios of those two guys, they have the same exact email address, PalletMGMT. So now we figure out what exactly that is. And they have a website, Palette Management. It says that they are a talent management company that represents brands and content creators. It says that they provide public relations services and they even have an in-house counsel. So Chris and Harry, whose content is pretty much identical to each other, also have the same talent management company. At which point you get to step 3. Figure out who's funding all of this. And a quick check of FEC records shows that Palette Management is being paid by the Democrat National Committee. They were paid over $200,000 for paid media and online advertising. When a bunch of liberal content creators visited the White House a couple months ago, the trip was organized with the help of the founder of Palette Management. And the DNC even paid them a retainer in order to cover their travel costs and expenses. So there you have it, folks. They claim they're not being paid, but they are in fact being paid. Whenever you see something like this, it never happens naturally. There's always somebody or something behind the scenes controlling everything. And in this case, it's the DNC that's paying these kids a lot of money through a talent management company in order to spread their propaganda online. If I wanted to go even further on this story, I would look up what their parents do for a living. If I had to take a wild guess, I would say that it's probably something corporate in high finance, something that would get you very well connected politically. And finally, you come up with a juicy headline to put on top of it. Tell me what you think this one should be in the comments.
Right? And how about this one? Well, as many of us have suspected for a long time, looks like those two are partisan hacks bought and paid for by the DNC to the tune of around $210,000. If you check their bios, both of them are managed by a company called Palette Media. And you might think, well, why is that important? Because Palette Media received direct payments by the DNC totaling $210,000. Apparently, the DNC didn't want to make direct payments. By the way, all of this is publicly available on the FEC website, so they don't want to make direct payments exposing Harry and his goons. So instead, they get a little creative with their accounting. First, they send the money to Palette, which then manages their talents like Harry. Now, none of this should surprise anyone because it's public knowledge that Biden started an army of social media influencers. But I guess they didn't.
So yeah, it seems that these people are not really true in their name. I mean, it may be voting Democrat or what have you, but I think their stupidity is reaching them to newer heights. Because, yeah, I don't see to where this is going to any remotely good positively at all if you would care to take it. Now, we have more of this insanity and what's going on here. Take a look, a little bit more of these clips to where these DNC hacks, these paid shill people, these people are trying to push it into a propaganda that, that really seems to love the Democratic Party ever so much.
The Republican Party for their crazy gun policy, calling them outrageous and unacceptable for standing with the NRA in the wake of some recent mass shootings. But President Biden is right. The Republican Party is bought and paid for by the NRA, and they'd rather take their money than stand up for common sense gun reform, which would save lives. Their behavior is outrageous and unacceptable, and we have to vote out any Republican who's not willing to work on this issue.
The State of the Union is tonight, and you can expect Biden to hammer home the fact that his administration has been one of the most productive in recent years. 12 million new jobs created, lowest unemployment rate in 54 years, investing billions in infrastructure, capped insulin at $35 for seniors on Medicare, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, and 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. And I don't think enough people realize how consequential Joe Biden has been. Minnesota! I'll be honest, I'm one of the few Americans who actually approves of President Biden's job. I feel like he's faced uniquely difficult situations, and I'll give you one example. Take it way back, a year and a half, 2 years ago, when Afghanistan falls to the Taliban. Immediately, his approval rating drops 5, 7 points, even 10 points. It was disaster, because it was disaster. But we're really going to put that on President Biden? As if George Bush didn't walk us into Afghanistan. We stayed just with no plan in mind. We were just kind of like, we got to be here just cuz. We built a horribly corrupt government over 20 years, and then none of the presidents would pull us out because they knew how disastrous it would be. Obama said he'd do it. He didn't. Trump said he would do it. He pulled 3/4 out and left the rest to Biden because he knew it would be disaster. So honestly, I give Biden credit for it.
So President Biden has announced that he is running for re-election, and it's likely going to be him versus Donald Trump. Has just released his first campaign ad for the 2024 presidential election, and it is amazing. And I bet it's going to give you chills. Take a look at it for yourself. So Republicans are now attacking President Biden for having notes at his press conference yesterday. Republican Representative Ronnie Jackson said, "Our alleged commander-in-chief needed a cheat sheet with questions printed in advance to get through a press conference. He needs to submit a cognitive exam or resign." Like, seriously, you think it's wrong to have notes at a press conference to know what points you want to hit on? And So President Biden just finished his State of the Union speech, and I'm still at the White House here watching it with everyone, and it was a terrific speech. I mean, he laid out a bunch of different policy proposals. He talked about the amazing achievements he's had in 2 years of his presidency and what he wants to accomplish in the next 2 years. And there were many times when Republicans tried to heckle them, but he gave it right back to them and put them right in their place. So yeah, just an amazing speech from President Biden, and I'm really excited for the next 2 years.
So yeah, you've seen the cancer. Now we have a little bit of stuff here as well that we have, from Ultra Mega Mega Fragile Funding Center that he's obviously being DNC. It says Media Touch, which he's obviously a part of. It says in Harry and says in Harry to where it actually is going to them. So there you have it. And then you have, all this as well, where you can get to see everything here to where all this basement and all this other great stuff is happening. Which all this will be posted in the description down below. So, yeah, they are definitely finance shilled or what have you. Which is, is not normally a problem. Which it is a problem, but I think Republicans need to get their ass in gear and do this too. They need to get actual conservative people talking about it. Hey, here are Republicans, I would love to do it. Although, granted, I probably won't be saying the nicest things you would want me to say about your whole area. But I will shill. I will do what you want me to do in order to make this country somewhat better. Of course, I'm going to say what I want. You're not going to control what I say. So, there you have it. I will say what I think is best to this country, to what I think that should be said to all. And unfortunately for you guys, you may not want to hire me or do whatever. But you should do this if it's not me, anybody else. Because right now the Democrats are beating your ass. They're doing their best to actually win elections. I don't think you care about winning elections, because I think you only care about getting money. If you actually cared about this country and wanted to give a damn, you would actually do what the Democrats are doing. But you're not. No longer trying to play nice. We gotta play evil, just like they do. Sometimes these feelings get in the way of doing the right things, and sometimes you have to play fire with fire. And This is the way to. Of course, don't start indoctrinating kids and start sexualizing them and stuff like that. Let's not do that. But let's do some other things that the Democrats are doing that are just as corrupt. Because at this point, we're going to lose, and we're going to lose our country if not so. And then we get to fight against the Republicans where they get too far back. Alright guys, that's the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care.